Yo, good morning everybody. It is the second episode of Mad Mondays where I answer questions to let you guys know a little bit more about who I am, what I do, and why I do this. But yeah, if you guys are looking at me, I look a little bit crazy. It's because it's the morning. I haven't had a shower yet. I'm not really ready for the day, but I'm getting ready to pack my bags for a trip to NZ. I'm not sure about the time when you guys are going to see this episode, but by the time it comes out, I probably would have already been over. I'm going to NZ for a Rugby 101 event that's happening in Taupo. This is my second event in Taupo, third time this year and ever going to New Zealand, so that's pretty cool. And shout out to the Rugby 101 team, shout out to Terrence, shout out to Dietrich, shout out to all of them. Really appreciate you for having me out there. But I'm going to be packing my bags while I answer these questions. But this episode, number 2, is all about my musical journey. And the first question is, what inspired you to start creating music and how did you get your start? So I think I kind of touched on this in the last episode. What inspired me to start creating music was, my family and being surrounded by music my entire life. It's very hard to be surrounded by all these people that love music and love, dancing and partying and, just a whole host and range of different music and things like that, and not be inspired to do music, So I kind of had no choice. It was a default setting for me. So that's how I got my start in music. I've always loved it. And what inspired me to get started, I told a story in the last episode. So what made me get started was in 2015, when I was in my last year of high school. I had a bunch of friends that were doing music, and one of them, Breezing 96 Baby, actually told me to send him a video of me rapping so that I could, show him what I can do. And I recorded a verse that I wrote over Drake's Pound Cake instrumental. So I wrote that, got my friend Mitch to record it. We sent that over to him, and he was like, "Man, you can actually do this. You should take it seriously." So from that moment forward, I started recording more videos. I did my first shows. I started getting in the studio and putting music out, and it's just been, uphill trajectory since then. So it's been a pretty cool journey so far. I just realized this is actually going to be very distracting for me to try and do this at the same time. So I'm going to do this, focus, and get this done first. Anyway, question number 2. Can you share a pivotal moment in your musical journey that significantly impacted you? A pivotal moment in my musical journey, that's a tough one. I feel like there's been so many in the past, couple of years. So I'm not too sure how to answer that. A pivotal moment in my musical journey. This might actually sound like a bit of a negative, but when I was in 2017, I forget how old I was. In 2017, I released a debut mixtape called The Fixtape Volume 1. And if Iconic Beats is watching this right now, you remember all about it, bro. Me and him, we made that joint together, just recording, over type beats on YouTube. I think the verse that I did for Pound Cake was on that joint. We did a bunch of different stuff to blunted beats, and real ones know blunted beats was the go-to for instrumentals back in the day. But recorded a whole mixtape over blunted beats, over type beats. Called it The Fixtape Volume 1, and I did weekly releases every Wednesday or something, every Friday, something like that, and put the music out on YouTube, SoundCloud. I didn't realize that a lot of those tracks would get copywritten and taken down and muted, so it didn't really work out. But at the time, we thought we were creating something really special, and it is special for a different reason, but we thought we were creating something special and unique and actually high quality. But looking back, it was definitely not high quality. I was still finding my voice. I was still trying to figure out what the cadence of Nomad was going to be. I was sounding like a lot of different people on all the records were different. And the storytelling just wasn't there, but it was a learning curve for sure, because at the time Iconic Beats, he was still doing his audio production course and learning how to be better at mixing and mastering and producing and things like that. And through that, we kind of got our bearings, and that was a really important bonding journey for both of us. So that was probably the most pivotal part of the journey, because I think if we hadn't gone through that and then experienced the release and experienced what it's like for people to not actually mess with your music, then we probably wouldn't have built up the calluses and the resilience that we need to actually, you know, pursue this thing for real. So yeah, it was pretty major in that way to do it like that. Anyway, so that's question number 2. Question number 3 is, what genres of music have influenced your style and how have they shaped your sound? So obviously, first and foremost, hip hop, but I feel like in hip hop there's so many subgenres right now. Growing up, I was definitely influenced by East Coast boom bap, Jay-Z and Nas type sound, and also Kanye West to an example. You know, the chipmunk soul sampled style that he influenced and brought to life. But then, you know, in my later years, I kind of got more in tune with the West Coast G-Funk, Dr. Dre, Warren G sort of sound, and that's definitely shaped how I consume music as well as create music. You know, I definitely have a couple of joints that are definitely West Coast influence, but you know, when I think about the artists that I listen to and I really look up to, like, you know, La Russell, Nipsey Hussle, Blast, all those kinds of sounding artists in this modern era, that's definitely an influence to me, and it's what I find most palatable. So there's a bunch of different genres in hip hop alone where I feel influenced. In saying that, I definitely want to say that I'm pretty influenced by R&B as well. I've always loved R&B. I grew up listening to, like, you know, Usher, Chris Brown, even going further back to like Brian McKnight. I know there's some controversy around Brian McKnight. I'm not really a fan of the human being, but that was what I was raised on. And I was also raised on like Motown sounds, like the Temptations, Jacksons, all that sort of music. What else? Because I think I've explained it before, but my music taste is quite diverse. I'm into like country music. I'm into blues, like Memphis sort of sounds, like Chris Stapleton, Teddy Swims, Josh Totofi. While he's more island styles, I really like his song "I'm Gonna Love You" because it reminds me of that blues sound that I'm a big fan of. But then I'm also like, you know, I'm actually a real big sucker for pop. Like, you know, there's not really a Kelly Clarkson song that I don't know. There's, you know, I like what Dua Lipa's doing as well. I like all kinds of music like that is of diverse ranges. Like my playlist, it will confuse people. Like, cause at 1 minute we're rapping and we're rapping the most gangster shit. And then the next minute we're rapping like, you know, or we're singing Billie Eilish. I don't know. It's crazy like that. But anyway, how has your musical journey evolved over time? Over time, well, since I got started, you know, I got started before I had kids, before I became a father. So at that point in time, it was like the world is your oyster. You just got to figure it out. You got to unlock the code. You can just chase this full speed ahead, and you don't have to worry about any of the risk. Take all the risk in the world. And then I had my first child, and then the window. I all of a sudden started to see a window. And I also started to see that there were a lot more risks that I can't take, because now I got to think about not only her, but her mother as well. I got to think about my family before I can think about myself. Not to say that I wasn't thinking about her mother at the time. T, I love you. You were definitely in the back of my mind when I was making choices when it was just us. But at that point in time, we could afford to take more risks. But then we had our child, and not. On the writing aspect, it gave me another lens to look through life at, and I was able to write stories as a father now. So that was really cool. And then baby number 2 happened, and baby number 3 happened, and baby number 4 happened. And the difference between having 4 babies and 1 baby is that it's a lot easier to find babysitters for 1 baby. It is so hard to find babysitters for 4 babies. And I know that my eldest is 6 years old. She's still a handful. The second eldest is 5 years old, and then we got a 3-year-old. nearly 3-year-old, and then we got an 8-month-old. So those ages, they all require something different from someone watching them. So at this point in time, my musical journey is sort of, how do I make it happen within the constraints of my family life and not sacrificing too much of my family life? And that kind of looks like, you know, everything that I need to get done needs to get done before it's time for the bedtime routine. I need to be present for the bedtime routine because I take half the responsibilities and T takes the other half of those responsibilities, and we work as a team. And if we're not in unison, then our whole week can fall apart. You know what I mean? Like, we need to work together just to get our kids to bed on time. And if our kids don't go to bed on time on Tuesday night, by the time we get to Friday night, everyone's sleep schedule is fucked. So we need to be able to work together for that moment in time. So I got to work within knowing that I'm going to have that whole block of time closed off to just my family, and I'm not going to be able to accomplish anything musically within that time. And by the time we've completed that block of responsibility, I'm usually too exhausted to do anything here, like, you know, between midnight and stuff. And there's a lot of days where I'll push it and I'll try and make something happen in there. But for those of you who know what it's like to like burn the candle on both ends and, you know, burn out and, you know, just try and overwork yourself because you're trying to achieve a goal, it's not easy. It's not something sustainable that you can maintain over time. And I'm trying to prioritize my sleep a lot more because I realize the importance of being rested and having a brain that's, you know, functional and not struggling throughout the day to just accomplish your everyday tasks. So, yeah, that's just one example of how, you know, my musical journey has evolved over time. Just trying to work within the constraints, because then you throw in my day job. Then you throw in what I'm doing on the day-to-day at M.A.D and how I'm working to, you know, keep a roof overhead. And those are my priorities. Music has slowly dripped down to, like, you know, 3rd or 4th on my list of priorities, right? And on one hand, it's something that's quite frustrating, but on the other hand, you know, if the rest of my priorities that are above music were to fall apart, I would be miserable. So it's a sacrifice that has to be made. Music has definitely become more of a sacrifice, whereas before I felt like I was sacrificing my family in place of music. So yeah, with that being said, I'm really content with where I'm at and content to try and work to make it work. But yeah, it definitely has its days. Anyway, question number 5, what have been some of your proudest accomplishments in your music career so far? Well, just in the past year alone, 2023, I got to be on a TikTok live with Timbaland, and that was incredible. I remember like it was yesterday. It was the day after I had performed with a full band supporting me, backup vocalists in my hometown. There was an event called Wyndham 24 where they had a festival for 24 hours, and we got to perform at that show a whole 30-minute set, and it was incredible. And, you know, everyone was behind me. They had John on drums, Fizz on keys, Ollie on keys as well. Was he on keys? Ollie was like doing a multi-instrument thing with one instrument guitar. And then I had Jacinta and Tyra backing me up on vocals. So that was incredible. And that was incredible in itself. So I was riding the high. Me and T came home the next day, and when we got home, my brother-in-law Anthony, he told me that I should jump on live with Timbaland and I can use his account. So I jumped on that live, and man, that was incredible. Timbaland told me that I sound like J. Cole, and that I really rap and that I know how to really rap. And he told me that one of my other songs, I could have gone harder on the hook, that the hook could have been better. So that was cool. I got like some positives and a negative and a constructive feedback. Some other accomplishments, I got to perform with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra at the Sydney Mime Music Bowl last year, so that was sick. We performed my song Destined, and they did a whole arrangement behind me for it, original arrangement by Alex Turley, and shout out to Audrey Pone as well. So that was cool. That was the first time I got to perform in that venue, and hopefully I get to go back there, manifesting that. But yeah, what else? I feel like I've done some pretty cool things. I've been nominated for a Music Victoria Award twice for Best Hip Hop Act. That's something that I'm trying to win. Hopefully we can do that within the next year. Fingers crossed. I performed at St. Kilda Fest in the grand final for the Push Inc. Push Start talent competition, going up against a bunch of dope acts, and I won an APRA AMCO Songwriters Award for my performance there, for the words that I was spitting. So that was amazing. What else? I produced and performed at my own album launch, the Nomadic One Night Only. There's not much footage of it, but that's something that I got to do, I think 3 years ago, and I got to do it in my hometown, Wyndham Cultural Center. Got to hire out the whole thing. Friends and family came, bought tickets and all of that, and it was sick. It was sick. Everyone came through, and I had the band too. So if you guys haven't seen that, you can go check it out now. But like I said, I've done a bunch of cool things. What role do mentors or collaborators play in your musical journey? A huge role. I'd say that, like, you know, my family, Uncle Rob, my parents, Uncle Aaron, like, you know, a bunch of like family are all my mentors, and they've, you know, raised me up to have the taste that I have and understand music in the way that I do. But then, you know, the industry people that I've gotten in touch with, you know, even Iconic Beats is a mentor to me. Even, you know, Joe Listics, Francois Tunes, I've had a bunch of different, you know, mentors and collaborators, you know, Levi, Max Van Soos, Spell, 94, all these collaborators that I've ever worked with have played a big role in, you know, me evolving as an artist, and me understanding what I can do and what I do greatly, what I need work at, how I can experiment a little bit more. So they always play a massive role for me. How do you see your musical journey continuing to evolve in the future? I think the way I see it evolving is, you know, there's a lot of things that I want to double down on. I want to double down on my ability to actually spit and continue to prove that there's a space in hip hop for lyricism and storytelling. And so that's of major importance to me. So I want to double down on that, but I want to get better at this part. I want to get better at letting you guys in on who I am and becoming a content creator. And I know that gets a bad rap. I know that, you know, Schoolboy Q has said words about it, but honestly, I enjoy this. I enjoy talking to you guys on this level and creating more content when I can't always, you know, make music. I can't always spit, but when I do spit, I want it to be an event. I want you guys to feel it. So yeah, I think that kind of answers that question. And just getting better at the social media side. I want to let you guys, yo, my bad, it cut out, but we ran out of battery. That's what happened. But I think we're up to the last question, which was, how do I see my musical journey continuing to evolve in the future? And honestly, I don't know how it's going to continue to evolve, but I hope that you guys get to see more diverse and more variety from the kind of music that I can make. I have some songs on the way that I think are going to blow your mind and be like, wow, that is so different from anything that he's ever done before. And I want that to be a continuing theme. I want you guys to hear new things from me. I want you guys to hear me sing and tell me if it's bad or if it's good. I want you guys to hear me just rage, and I want you guys to hear all the different sides that there are to Nomad222. But yeah, with that being said, that concludes this episode number 2. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like this video, please like. If you guys want to ask me some questions, or you guys want to comment on what I've had to say, comment below and share this around to all your friends. Let them know who I am. Let them know what I do. I make music. I'm a father of 4. I do all kinds of dope shit, and this is one of them. So make sure you check it out. Subscribe to the channel as well, so that we can get that play button and we can do that together. But I really appreciate you, and remember, together we move.